stream. Today is another great day. Let me know in the comments section if you guys actually can hear me and all that good stuff. I had a few issues with the mic the other day, so I'm kind of hoping that today is a little bit different, that it basically, gets going and starts working, but definitely let's just kind of wait for a few people to sign on as soon as people see it, and we'll get going. So I'm excited. I hope you are too. And this live stream is, I hope you brought your questions, because we're going to have plenty of chances to kind of look at that. And I know it's kind of a Sunday. People are probably getting off from church, all that good stuff. And, we'll kind of see how that goes. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to the live stream. But first, before we get started, I want you guys to go ahead and grab whatever it is that you're drinking. If you're drinking something, please let me know in the comments section. Also, feel free to let me know where you are watching from. I'd love to see that, and just let me know what you guys are. Let me know where you guys are watching from and all that good stuff, and we'll do well with it. So today, what I'm drinking is I'm just drinking a soda. For those of you, it's probably 5 o'clock somewhere, so for all I know, you could be drinking your favorite evening beverage, or you could be drinking a soda like me, or whatever, beer, wine, whatever your pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. So just remember that anytime that you guys have any questions, feel free to just ask me in the comments section, and we'll just go from there. So we kind of started doing this live stream yesterday, and it was a pretty good reaction that we got, and hence the reason why we're back here again. And I know that for a fact that this live stream was wanted by some people. So, and I know that it's been a while since I've done one of these, so, forgive me if it's a little bit of a refresher. It's been a while since I've actually talked to the audience, but I'm glad that I'm back and that we're communicating. But yeah, if you guys just let me know in the comments section if you guys have any questions. You can ask me anything. As I said, this is a standard Q&A, so you can ask me about my personal life, about my content, about anything that we're going to be, showcasing in the future. If you got any technical questions. For those of you who don't know what we do on this channel, I focus a lot on Western shooting sports, Western guns, Western gear, and, I am, for all intents and purposes, a gun tuber. So we do modern stuff like that, and I think it's pretty awesome. We do showcase some modern stuff on here, so, even ask me questions about that. So, cheers. Well, I kind of prep for people to sort of get their questions ready in the comment section. There are a few things that I'm going to go ahead and put out. Some of the common questions that I get are, well, what should I call you? Well, first off, I go by Slick, but Slick Six Guns is the channel name. Slick Six Guns Network, I should say. And but you can just call me Slick, and that's pretty easy. Hey, Kicked Crusader, thank you for joining in. I'll give you guys a shout out if you mention yourself in the comments section, saying hello. If you got questions, I'll read them aloud. I'll try to answer them as everything comes on. And then, we'll kind of just go from there. Hopefully we'll get kind of some engagement going so that we can just, I'm just going to see how long this Q&A live stream is going to go. I really want to see what people have to say as far as questions. I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability and all that stuff. But some common things that I get, obviously, is what should you address me as? Well, I like to go by Slick, okay? So let's just go with that. You know, I already talked to you a little bit about what kind of content we cover on here. So if you're into Western stuff, you're in the right place, all that good stuff. You know, how often do I post? Well, to be honest with you, right now we've been posting a lot of shorts content. For those of you that don't know, YouTube is kind of weird. Well, weird in a good way. And it kind of caters to certain audiences. So if you, whether you watch long form, shorts, podcasts, live streams, or if you're just an overall generalist, YouTube is pretty good about basically pushing content towards you. You know, and one of the things that YouTube has a tendency to do is the viewers on this channel may be watching shorts because they're interested in shorts and that's all they get, but then they don't watch my long form content. And maybe it's because YouTube doesn't push it to them, or that's just something that they're not interested in. But I will tell you that a lot of people get interested in my channel because of the shorts content that we push. So as far as content is concerned, we do just about all of it. So we do long form content. I've started doing podcasts a little while ago, quite a long time ago. And then I started doing live streams a while back, and that's been kind of since the beginning because, you know, and then when shorts came out, it was a big deal, and we started doing that a lot. So, but recently, a lot of the content that we've been kind of pushing right now has been posts and short videos. And the reason for that is strictly timing. One of my goals this year is, and every year, quite frankly, has been the fact that I really just want to push out as much content as I can, good content nonetheless, but do it consistently. And one of the best ways I found to do that is to essentially have content every day. And shorts allows me to do that. Once I get to a certain point with shorts, I will start reverting back to long form content, which I know that is really important to a lot of people. But trust me, I know some of you are concerned, but that is coming. But for those of you who like long form content, this is one of them. We're doing our live stream. And so you guys can go ahead and just ask me whatever questions you want. We can talk about anything. That's what this community is for. And, you know, it's awesome. While you're here, why don't you go ahead and hit the like button? Go ahead and give that push for the algorithm so that we make sure we get our, as you know, as much engagement as possible, as much viewership as possible. So that's just some stuff that I want you guys to know about our content. You know, by all means, go ahead and get your drinks out. Just relax, sit back, relax, enjoy the content, enjoy the viewership. Here we go. So some other stuff that we have a tendency to get as far as questions are concerned is, what is my day job? Do I even have a day job? And the answer is I do. And specifically, yep, Jack, hello. Let all your friends know that I'm on. Tell them to jump on, say hello. Good to see you. If you got any questions, let me know in the comments section. But just to let you guys know that I do have a day job, and if you guys were tuning into the live stream yesterday, you would know that basically I am kind of a cowboy for a living. You know, on the small time, I run my own ranch, and we work with animals, and I work with animals just about every day. In fact, I actually just got in recently from checking on a herd of mine. Specifically a herd of sheep and goats that we've been working with. And so I deal with those animals every day. You know, I don't care who you are. You know, a lot of people will say, you know, well, that's not really cowboy. Well, to be honest with you, cowboy is someone who works on a ranch and they work with livestock. So I work with livestock and I have my own ranch. You could essentially say I am the rancher. So, you know, technically I could be the cowboy's boss, but I'm my own boss and that's what I do. So yes, that's my day job. It fills up a lot of my time, and it's one of the reasons why content sometimes is hard to push out, because my schedule is not very set. It sometimes has to be extremely fluid. I have to be ready to go at a moment's notice to basically go out, help the animals, or do whatever it is. Sometimes we have animals that escape. Sometimes we have animals that are sick. Sometimes we have animals that just need all around care, and that may mean hoof trimming, vaccinations, selling, whatever. And we do all that. So, you know, here's to the cowboy lifestyle. We're living it. You know, and so by all means, if you have questions on that, let me know. So, what better to get advice from a real cowboy? You know, that's why you're here. Anyway, by all means, ask your questions in the comment section of just about anything. I'm pretty open. I'm an open book about, you know, a lot of things. We got our first question here from Jack. Thank you for asking. Slick, you have several Bowie knives. How do you sharpen them? Okay, so I do have a sharpening stone. And I got the sharpening stone specifically from, I can't remember the name of it, but I ordered it online. And it's just oh man, it's just a regular sharpening stone. That's what I use. And it's about yay big. I want to say about this thick, maybe about that long. And I just use it to sharpen the Bowie knives. To be honest with you, my Bowie knives, unlike back in the day, aren't really utilized. Because my Bowie knives are basically made more for my character. When it comes to the character that I portray in the Western shooting sports, a big knife, very flashy. A lot of my gear is just a big man with big personality, and so I get fancy guns, I get fancy knives, and so that's basically what I use them for. They could be very utilitarian, and I can see why, and I've done episodes on that. But I'll tell you, I don't use Bowie knives on a daily basis. So let's just kind of, I just want to clear the air on that one. So I hope that answers your question on how I sharpen them. So yes, a sharpening stone, and you can order those online. From the Squirrel Assassins, what is your opinion on a Winchester 73? Okay, so I kind of have to ask, in what regard are you talking about? As far as aesthetics, the Winchester 1873 to me is not my favorite aesthetically. Is it pretty good looking? Generally speaking, a lot of the rifles during that time frame were just pretty good looking. They were kind of, in my opinion, pieces of art the way they were made, because each had its own specific, aside from, you know, it had its own little tailor specific to say, hey, this is the add-on that's going to make this an awesome piece, whether that be a new invention to help it load faster, or help it clean better, or make it stronger. You know, so the Winchester 73, I say it's kind of my middle of the road. I like it. Don't get me wrong. Let me clear the air on that one. I like the Winchester 73. I think aesthetically it is not my favorite. Utilitarian wise, I think it makes it's a happy medium between speed and looks. You know, depending on but that goes back to kind of what you're going to use it for. You know, if you're just going to carry it around, you know, they can be a little heavier than, say, a Winchester 92. You know, and that was one of the appealings of the Winchester 92, is it was light and handy, but you could still shoot the same cartridge. And it was kind of supposed to update the Winchester 73, you know, to have a different eject system, make it a little more compact. So, but I do not like the Winchester 92 as much as I like the 73, if that makes any sense. And it has a lot to do with aesthetics. Now, if you get into speed, you're talking about speed in a competition. the toggle link actions are definitely going to be faster. So as far as 73 versus a 66, that's going to very much depend on the user, your proficiency. I know that a lot of people do use 73s in competition. That is kind of the go-to thing. And a lot of people will turn around and recommend that, especially if you do cowboy action with it. I use 73s all the time. And I guess I should say I have a lot of different 73s. I have Uberti 73s. I have Moroku 73s. I have original 73s. I have one of each. And if I were to be 100% honest, the best 73 I have is my Moroku 73. And the reason being is because it is the slickest. I have zero to no modification on it. And it's very clean looking. It doesn't look artificial at all. Other than there's a few little internals that they kind of changed to make it more modern, if you will. But for all intents and purposes, it kind of kept most of the aspects of the original. If you're going for historical accuracy internally, a Uberti is probably the best bet. But you can't beat historical accuracy on an original. So that's my opinion on the 73. It's kind of a middle of the road. I like it. I like to use it. It's better than some, not as good as others. But I like certain things more for their aesthetics and historical reasons than I do for their practicality. Okay? I hope that answers your question. Okay. From the 4 tracks, 300 Kid, what do you think about the Winchester 70? Now, I assume you're talking about the Winchester 70 bolt-action rifle, Model 70, which, is my opinion, from my understanding, was utilized by the military for sniping, designated marksmanship, and just overall utilizes the Mauser action, and it is a very popular bolt-action rifle. Correct me if I'm wrong in that. And I do want to preface my answers. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I want to tell you that anything that I say on my live streams, if I'm answering questions, more than likely hasn't been researched. So if you let me know, correct me, it's not going to offend me. If I'm wrong, I will tell you, yes, I'm wrong. I like to say that I'm pretty confident in my answers, and for the most part, I like to think I know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure anyone does. Model 70s, I have owned one. I have target shot with one. I did not hunt with one. It was chambered in 30-06. If it was chambered in something else, I'm not sure on that. So I'm not going to say that's the only round it was chambered in. But aside from that, that's one of the few times that I've actually shot a 30-06, was in a Model 70. And I will say that I honestly thought it was all right. It's a turn bolt rifle. I don't really like it as much as say a Mauser, in my opinion, but that once again has to do with aesthetics. I just don't think aesthetically it's a good looking gun. It's just a run-of-the-mill bolt-action rifle. And can it shoot? Great. Can it be used for its intended purpose? Yes. I think the kick on it, the recoil on it was okay. I can, I'm a bit of a bigger guy, so I can take the recoil on some larger rifles. So that's just my opinion on that. So if you wanted to get a Model 70, I would say that you're not in the wrong for getting one. And I think they're okay rifles. Not my favorite, but they're okay. I hope that answers your question. Thank you for bringing that up. So if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. We're just going to kind of keep going here. For those of you who don't know, we are doing a giveaway as well, a cash giveaway, as well as a rifle giveaway. And if you've been following any of my posts, I've been keeping pretty well up to date on that. And, I'm sure my viewers are extremely tired of it, but to be honest with you, it's the only way that I can kind of fundraise for something like that, because this community that I built up for 6 or 7 years, I figure this is probably what you would appreciate more, is to have more historical firearms, and that's one of the few that, quite frankly, I would need your help on getting. And that's why I'm asking for things on it. But with that being said, the best way to contribute to that, you can go to my link. It is in the description below to be entered into the raffle. For as little as $1, you can be entered in for the potential of winning $2,000 cash prize as well as a rifle once the fundraiser is over. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. But anyway, just let me know. Anyway, so with that being said, I just kind of want to tell you a little bit about why I'm doing it that way. And then I think it's kind of appropriate always. I like to explain to people who my channel benefits and kind of how I monetarily survive off of it, if you will. And I like to be as forthcoming with people as I do. And this has everything to do with, and I'll tell you, anyone who's a major gun tuber who actually does this full-time, part-time, their goal is at some point to receive monetization. I have yet to run into a gun tuber YouTuber that doesn't do that. I know that there are a few out there that do monetization differently, whether it be through crowdfunding, YouTube, AdSense, sponsorships, and it's just, it runs the gamut. Okay. So I just want to let you guys know that as far as monetarily, do I receive AdSense? Yes, I do. But I can tell you honestly that it's not enough to live on. And I've been working at this for 6 or 7 years. So I make less on AdSense than I would at a minimum wage job. Let's put it that way. Okay? It's not even enough to be considered a part-time job. All right? So I just want to let people know that it's like I'm not rolling in the dough here, and I'm not milking money like crazy. So as much as everyone who does this would want to do that, that's not what I'm doing. And it's just going to take a lot more growth for something to make that possible. But the reason why I say that is that's why I reach out to the viewer. Because you guys essentially make this channel possible. And I really just want to be able to benefit you guys, because the more you join, in other words, the more people that join the channel, the more the channel grows, the more I fit content that you guys actually want. And the way I know that content is by looking at my analytics, and I read comments, and I read the data on percentage of people that are interested in certain types of stuff. Anyway, so I got another question on here. Wearing a cowboy hat in your house is crazy work. Okay, so I think that's interesting to bring that up. I just want to let you know, first off, I do have a persona and a character that I portray with this channel. I have been doing it for several years. So part of it is this hat in particular, and definitely the different kind of wear. So whenever I'm on camera, regardless of where I'm at, I like to show my persona. Now, when I'm actually in a working environment, I'll be honest with you, I don't wear this stuff. And, we talk about, well, what did people wear back then? Well, they wore what was available and what was practical. There's many people that are, there's many people in this space that do a lot more research than I do, that talk about the wear and practicality. One of those guys, in my opinion, that does a really good job is the Ghost Riders, the Arizona Ghost Riders Santee. But you know, it's, so this is just part of the persona, but when I'm out working, it's common to see me wearing just jeans, maybe a long sleeve shirt, depending on what type of brush I'm working in. Some of it's really heavy brush, so I'll wear a very light shirt, long sleeve, or I'll wear a short sleeve because I get really sweaty. I don't like wearing hats, ironically, and to be honest with you, a lot of working cowboys I know that actually would do the kind of stuff that I'm doing wouldn't wear a nice hat. And they wouldn't wear a cowboy hat specifically unless they're resting or something like that. I mean, if you're out there wrestling with the animals, the good chance that that hat's going to fall off. So, quite frankly, the best type of headgear to wear is probably some, if you're out in the hot sun, is some type of boonie cap with a strap or a baseball cap. I've done that before, but to be honest with you, the way that feels, like I said, I'm a sweaty guy, so when I wear hats, I just feel like I have a mop on my head, and I just take it off. So at the end of the day, it's just better to not wear one. So no, this is not the stuff that I wear on a daily basis working on a ranch, but it is the persona that I portray online, and the main reason why is because I hold up a character in cowboy action shooting, and that cowboy action shooting character wears this stuff. So, you know, got to get a straw hat. Yes, the real cowboy attire. Okay. Got to get a straw. Okay. Well, like I said, I've worn straw hats, and to be honest with you, because I'm so sweaty, I end up destroying them. So, I don't want to waste the money. So I do not get straw hats. I don't really wear hats in general. So, just letting you know. But that's just kind of where it comes from with the attire. So I hope that answers that question. I hope that kind of clears things up. But thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad you did, because I'm sure you're not the only one. But anyway, keep asking your questions, all that stuff. I'm glad that we're getting a thumbs up. We got 6 so far, so keep pushing it up for that algorithm. Thank you so much. Feel free to look in the description section of this video. And as always, make sure that you have your drink with you when you have a chat. So, let's see. Yesterday I had a conversation with Arizona Ghost Riders. So, Keith Strait asked, either way, the one you got on is a nice pick. How many X's? So the funny thing is when I first bought this hat, which was many years ago, I didn't really look for X's. I didn't care. So, and I didn't really have a concept of any idea what that really meant until people started asking me. And before you knew it, because I'm a sweaty person, I took out all the lettering that told me how many X's was in this hat. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if it has an X. It may not even be a true X felt hat, if you will. The brand is Lone Star. I hope that helps. It's not Stetson. It's not Resistol. So, I can't necessarily tell. It's not, I don't want to say it's the best quality, okay? In fact, I think the people that told me when I bought it, they actually said this is our lowest quality hat, and the price kind of reflected it, and that's the reason why I ended up buying it, because one, I wanted a brown hat, and two, I wanted a relatively cheap hat that I could still kind of wear around the place, just kind of enjoy having a nice hat. And I have worn cowboy hats for a very long time, okay? Yes, it's probably 3 X's, which is like wool blend, but hey, the color and the shape is what gets you by. Yeah, the shape is why I bought it. The color is why I bought it. It was exactly what I wanted in the price that I saw it, and so that's why I got that. I do have other hats, by the way. If you guys look at my channel, I do have a few others. I have a black hat. I do have a white hat. That I have worn on occasion for certain types of videos. So right now I'm up to 3 hats. But I don't really collect hats. So, well, I take that back. I'm actually at 4 hats. I got this one. I do have a Stetson. I do have a Resistol. And I have a white, just regular straw hat. More often than not, what you're going to see in my videos is going to be the brown hat. Just because it goes well with my attire. The black hat, to be honest with you, I left it in the heat too long and it got warped out of shape, and I just am too lazy to take it anywhere to get it fixed, and I'm too lazy to fix it myself. So, with that being said, that's kind of one of those things that you just, I don't know, you either want to do it or you don't. And, I just didn't want to fix it. But my black hat is a Resistol. It's just kind of got an odd shape to it, so I don't like wearing it that often. I may wear it here and there. My Stetson is my military hat from when I was in the service, and I'll kind of get into this stuff a little bit because I know that some people that are tuning in more than likely don't know a whole lot about me. So I definitely want to educate you on who I am because, we are a community. It's nice to know who you support or watch. So I'll try to be as upfront about my past life, current life as possible. I'm making this too long about hats, but the white hat, I really don't wear that much. I've worn it for 1 or 2 videos, and I've worn it on extremely hot days. But like I said, I don't typically wear a cowboy hat when I'm outside, so it really doesn't matter. Then I think I told you, but I'll say again, my Stetson is my military hat from when I was in the military, and that's why I ended up buying it. So I was, for those of you who are Cav soldiers, yes, I've been in the Cav, 1st Cav Division, and I did have a Stetson. So, and I still have it. I do use it in videos as well. In fact, you can see that in my persona when it comes to my other character known as Tactidad. We got Tactidad, we got Bubba, and then you got Slick. Bubba and Tactidad don't really make much of an appearance, at least in the recent videos that I've made. But Tactidad usually wears the Stetson. Bubba wears a standard baseball cap. So, and then you got me. So, anyway, but yeah, we're 30 minutes into the live stream. Once again, just ask your questions in the comments section. However they come up, I will go ahead and answer them. I am not a huge fan of censoring people. I know that there's some YouTubers that do it, and I know that sometimes in my comments section, you'll actually notice that in a lot of my videos, if you go to my videos right now, you will see that probably half the comments are me. Because I love to respond to people. That is something that, you just need to understand that I definitely do try to respond to everyone. At the same time, I do not censor anybody. I know that some people in my comment section have had a tendency to say, well, you deleted my comment. And guarantee you, if that's happened, it's been because YouTube decided to do it. I didn't personally do it, and I don't personally delete comments. The way that comments work typically is the comment comes to me, and if it's censorable, sometimes it goes into what's known as the held section and doesn't even get seen. So when I go into and I can tell you right now that all my held sections, I've released all those comments and let them be approved. I've never deleted them. I shouldn't say never. I probably deleted one a long time ago, so I don't want to sit here and lie about that. But I just want to let you guys know that any comments that get put on, I do expect people to be respectful, but I'm open to just about anything. I'll debate anybody on just about any topic. And if I'm not going to debate on it, I'll tell you I won't. But otherwise, I pretty much, for the most part, engage. Okay, we got another question here. Peru. Yeah, hey, thanks for tuning in again. You were on yesterday, so I know that it's probably going to be getting late where you're at because I know you're in Europe, as you said. Is Red an inside dog? Yeah. So let me explain a little bit who Red is before I answer that question. So, for those of you who don't know, with my job, I work with livestock, and one of the things I decided to do recently, and when I say recently, I mean within the last couple of years, I actually got a border collie to help me herd animals. And when I say herd, I mean move them around to where I need them to be. And so that is what Red is. He is a working border collie. He is a purebred border collie. He is a trained border collie, and I work with him whenever I can. And so, to answer your question, is he an inside dog? He wants to be. He does stay inside. When I'm inside, wherever I'm at, let's put it this way: wherever I'm at, that dog is. So if I'm inside, that dog's inside, unless he has to go to the bathroom, and he's pretty good about letting me know. If I'm outside, that dog is outside because he can't not be with me. He doesn't want to be anywhere but near me, which is just, I feed him, I give him water, I spend time with him, so naturally he wants to be around me. Okay? I hope that answers your question. So if he wants to be an inside dog, he could be, but he's a working dog. He definitely does his job outside, and he's very active. So, I can tell you that, I might call him in here in a little bit, and maybe he can get a cameo appearance. So for all you dog lovers out there, I might have to cover up the microphone in order to call him because he likes to hide. He loves sleeping, I'll tell you that much. So, but anyway, thank you for asking. So, but yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, I was in the military for a time. I did 12 years total. And I did explain to you guys, yes, I was in the CAV, the 1st CAV Division. I served at Fort Hood, which is now Fort Hood again. It changed names temporarily and then was reverted back to Fort Hood. Fort Hood is in Central Texas. By the way, I am in Texas, okay? So if you're in Texas, let me know. I love to always chat with my neighbors, and if you're nearby, maybe we can meet up. I don't know. It just depends, okay? But with that being said, I did 4 years at Fort Hood. No, I did 6. So about half my time in the military was at Fort Hood. And the reason being is because I got out and went into the reserves, and my reserve unit was at Fort Hood too. For those of you who have been at Fort Hood, or even those who haven't, and if you're familiar with the military in any such fashion, you will know that Fort Hood is the largest Army military installation. I shouldn't say military because I can't necessarily say all the branches, but I can tell you that Army-wise, it is the largest continental United States Army base that is in existence. And so a lot of people have a tendency to go through there. And I was with the 1st CAV Division for 4 years. I deployed with them, went to Korea specifically, South Korea, not North Korea, South Korea, okay? So if you've ever been to South Korea, I have been there too. If you're in South Korea, please let me know. I loved being in South Korea. That was a great time, a very nice country. Military-wise, all that stuff, I can comment on that. If you have any questions, let me know on that type of experience. Great food, by the way. For those of you who are into Asian cuisine, Korean food, you got Korean barbecue, which it's famous for. Good stuff, man. So, with that being said, I did 4 years there. I deployed once. I was there for about a year, came back, and then I spent a year stateside again waiting to basically get out because I was done going into the reserves, and I went into the reserves back in 2016 time frame. So 2012, I was in the I joined the military. After that, 4 years later, 2016, went into the reserves, and then basically spent the next 6, 7 years, 8 years doing that. You know, sorry, it was a total of 12 anyway, so 8 years. But yeah, I spent 8 years in the reserves. Pretty much spent most of my reserve time in Texas, whether it be at Fort Hood or actually down in Houston. Some of you guys, some of you viewers may actually be my soldiers. You know, I may know who you are. And, you know, you can just say hello or, you know, talk to me or whatever, you know, doesn't matter. But you guys know, if you were my soldiers, then you would know exactly what I'm doing. You know, because I know you guys watch my videos and all that stuff. Or if you didn't watch it, you at least knew of it. So say hello if you want. But yeah, and I got, let's see, what else? So I was down in Houston for a little while with the reserves. I deployed out of there, went to Japan, you know, during COVID, and then came back after a year over in Japan, and then transferred to a unit back to Fort Hood because I spent 2-3 years with that unit in Houston, and it was my time to go and time to move on to another job. And then we ended up, then I ended up back at Fort Hood, and I stayed there until my ETS essentially got out. Then I went into what's called the Individual Ready Reserve, which is what I am in now. So I'm Individual Ready Reserve, which for those of you that don't know means that you're not in the military, but you have the potential to be called up if something happens. But you don't show up for anything, you don't get paid. You're not really expected to keep physical requirements and all that stuff. So, needless to say, that's kind of behind me. But it's something I did for 12 years. It is a part of my character. It is something that has built me into the person I am today. You know, all that stuff. So, Peru says, sounds like that was quite a trip. Depends on which one you're talking about. But yes, they were both pretty crazy. Deployments wise, yeah. You know, had to move equipment, all that stuff. For those of you who are soldiers, you know what I'm talking about. You know, we trained, we moved, we experienced. You know, it was, you know, it had its good times, it's had its rough times, all that stuff. So, meanwhile, it's kind of to get off of the military stuff. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I'm pretty open about my service if people ask. I don't normally tell people that I was. That's just not me. But the fact is, you know, you guys, I just want to share it with you. You know, I think it's important that you know who it is that I represent and that is essentially performing for you. So I think that's important. Going back to kind of professional-wise, what I ended up doing after active duty while I was in the reserves was I started being a teacher. So I actually went to school. I am college educated. For those of you who don't know or don't think so, I am college educated. I went to school to be a teacher to earn an education degree. And so I started teaching. Well, let's kind of back up. Where did I go to college? Some of you may have that question. I went to college at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. So, yay, Wildcats. And perfect for the Western setting, right? You know? So, I mean, I spent about 4.5 years there because of my degree, and I graduated with a degree in history and a minor with 2 minors. So I had a major and 2 minors. Minor in psychology and military science. That was something that was kind of newly developed with the university at the time as far as the second minor, but that was up to them. And they just kind of gave that de facto. But anyway, with that being said, you know, we started doing I joined the school when I was in the reserves. I started teaching there. I taught middle school specifically. Got hired in the town that I was living in, a little place known as Burnett, Texas, which ironically is where I started doing this. Started doing YouTube, but we'll get into that in a second. But in this little town known as Burnett, Texas, and town of about 6,000 people, and I taught there for 2 years in middle school, and I taught U.S. history. So I can always, I know that people have their opinions on teachers and the U.S. education system and all that, and I'm all for talking about it. I'm an open book, if you will. So if you have questions on that, let me know. Once again, this is a Q&A from you guys to me about anything in general. Whether it be my life, guns, gear, the channel, whatever. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to hit me up. But yeah, I taught middle school history, taught it for 2 years, and I liked it for all intents and purposes. To be honest, it was I think it was a pretty rewarding career. And of course I say that because you're like, well, why did you only teach for 2 years? I'll get into that. But I taught middle school history for 2 years, and I liked it. I really did enjoy the kids. I did enjoy the content that I taught. But then I left it. And, I left it specifically because I wanted to pursue owning a business. And in order to do that, specifically with what I wanted to do, and that's where we kind of get into what I'm doing now with livestock, cowboy, and other things, is I just couldn't be a teacher then, and so I chose to leave it. I started having a family as well, so yes, I'm married, for those of you who don't know. So I've got 2 children, been married to the same woman for the last 11 years. Our anniversary is going to be coming up in December, so we got about 6 months away. I remembered. So, anyway, just want to let you know. But yeah, we mutually made the decision that it'd be best for me to leave my career, to kind of focus on the family, and then focus on maybe doing something else that would essentially generate a business. And so that's kind of where I got into the whole cowboying thing. And ironically, that's where I got into the whole YouTube thing, and that's where we started. Okay, and I think I filmed my first video. I have to look back at my channel, but I filmed my first video on this channel in 2018, which makes sense. That video was rough, man. Let me tell you. So when we first started, I had none of the special equipment, didn't know anything. Much like anybody who gets into YouTube, you don't know anything until you kind of start putting stuff in. Red, come here. You want to come here? You gonna get up here? Shh. Come on. Shh. I think he might have come up for a cameo. Come here. Shh. That'll do. Come here. Hey. You dog. You're a puppy. Come here. Come on. No, he just wants to sit down here. So, anyway, I'm giving him pets. He's here. He's having a grand old time. He's just looking at me like, what are we doing now, boss? What are we doing now? Well, Daddy's making a video, and he's talking to people. You want to say hi? No? Okay. Anyway. So with that being said, I started doing the whole YouTube thing. And, and like I said, my first video was really rough. Like, I didn't have any of the equipment, didn't know what I was doing, didn't have any of the attire. I did have the guns, though, not as many as I have today, but I did have guns back then, and that's kind of part of the reason why I started it. My first video was on just a commentary, kind of why I wanted to start a channel. it wasn't live. It was just a regular video, and I think it lasted about 10 minutes. And I actually ended up deleting it. My first video was so bad, Peru. My first video was so bad that I deleted it after a week of editing it. Oh man, you shouldn't have deleted it. You just got to start somewhere, you know. So just letting you know, once you start YouTube, you know, hey, NJ, JRC, hey man, howdy Slick, hey, thanks for dropping in the comments section. I'm doing a Q&A right now. Go ahead and drop me a question if you got one. It's good to see you. It's been a while since we've talked. So I just want to, you know, definitely say hi back and hopefully you enjoy the live stream. We were just busy talking about YouTube and all its struggles. Anyway, so yeah, man, you just don't give up on that. Don't give up on that that YouTube journey. You really gotta want it, just like with anything in life. But I mean, once you start filming all that stuff, it kind of builds up. But yeah, that first video you make is terrible. But don't delete it. If you have to remake it, but don't delete it. Because it's just something to build off of. And but I say that, and I've had my first video I deleted, but then I continued with another video that was my second video, but is my first video on my channel, and that was on the 1851 Navy. And I think it was the history of the 1851 Navy is what I covered. I need a better mic for that kind of stuff, and I'll try again. So, ironically, I did not have a mic for probably my first 6 months to a year of video making. And I still was able to make videos. They weren't great quality with the audio, obviously, but I tried to make the best of it. So I would say don't let that stop you either. But yeah, a mic helps, hence the reason why I've got this in and why I'm able to talk to you guys a lot better. So I would say that is just something that you guys, you get along the way, and you can find some cheap mics to start with. I just have another mic that I think is, that I won't have to put in my ears anymore, but I have yet to use it. In fact, it's actually charging right now. You can't move ahead without some learning on the job. I agree. You just can't. That goes with anything. You gotta, you gotta start somewhere. And it's just, with YouTube, it is all trial and error. There's people out there that have been doing this for years. And, I will say this, there's people on YouTube that have been on it for so long, they inspired me to do it. And maybe I might be that person to you, or I might be that person to someone else. But yeah. Yeah. So I just want to say that some people prior had been doing this for quite a while. I ended up getting inspired by them and, just kept at it. And my channel has had its ebbs and flows, believe me. For those of you who have been around for the long haul, Nag JRC, you're one of them. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. You know that channels are crazy, and you know that scheduling and timing, it just doesn't really happen as often as you'd like. That trying to get on that schedule that everyone talks about is just hard. So, I can definitely say that it takes discipline, commitment. It's rough, but I think it's worth it. My channel, as I said, ebbed and flowed, and I kind of pulled it from the ashes. But it kind of ebbed out of what was going on in my life, not because I didn't want to do it anymore. So, just want to let you know. Did you see Santee's tribute to Dirty Dan? I did. It was a very good episode. I did talk to Santee about that. I left a comment for him, and I also did talk to him yesterday. He was on the live stream. Yeah, it was a very good one. So that was cool. And it's great because I know Dirty Dan did some good stuff for me too. When he was alive, he did some content help when Santee and I did a collaboration. So Dirty Dan was there, and so I've met the man in person. So anyway, good guy, good guy. In fact, to him, to Dirty Dan. So anyway, yeah, so I know I'm kind of talking about my life story here, and some people may be interested in it, but some people may not be. I kind of feel like I sound like an old man, and I'm not, ironically. I'm middle-aged, if you will, getting there, if not quite there already. But I'm 36 years old, so, I'm not past my prime, as Doc Holliday would say, or who should I say, Val Kilmer, when he was alive and acting as Doc Holliday, he would say, I'm in my prime. So I'm definitely in my prime, if you will. So, that's what I think. Some people may not think so, but who cares? Anyway, so, I got a lot more to offer this world, so I might as well stick around. That's how I see it. So hopefully a lot of people on this channel are learning a lot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, by the way, what you think of the channel. What you like, what you don't like. I'm open to constructive criticism and all that stuff. If I got trolls in the comments, don't care. But, if people end up trolling and just hating on me, it's fine. Don't care. I'm still going to be doing this. A lot of people, I will say this, just for those of you, if you're ever thinking about doing a YouTube channel, you're going to receive hate from somebody. It's just inevitable. And to be honest with you, it's a good thing. Because if you get that, one, it gives you the chance to set the record straight. And two, it gives you a chance to kind of grow emotionally. You exercise self-control a lot better. I will say that people that disagree with me more, I have a tendency to state my opinion, but respect the fact that they have their opinion. I may ask them why they feel a certain way, and it might put them on the spot. But just like they're entitled to their opinion, I can have my opinion too. So, anyway, yep, you can't make everyone happy. True that. True that. You can't. You just can't. As much as I would love to please, I shouldn't say that. As much as I would love to have my channel be an awesome place to be for all 86,000 subscribers that I have, I know that there's a few on there that just don't care. So, anyway. Lewis, hey, welcome to the chat. If you got any questions, man, let me know. I'm here for a little while. We'll see how well this goes. Depends on what kind of engagement I get. So far, I've pretty much been... I've been answering some questions here and there. I'd like to get a few more questions going. Just about anything. I've told you guys a lot so far. If you're just jumping in and out, maybe you missed it. But, let me know. So glad to see you. Work calls. Yep, it's good to see you too. Enjoy your work. Thank you for stopping in and spending your time with me when you could have been somewhere else. Have a good one. Be safe. See you next time. But anyway, yeah, everyone else, drop something in the comments section if you got any questions. Let me know. Try to be an open book here as much as possible and all that stuff. Let me know what you guys think about the Q&As, if this is something you think I should keep up, or if this is something that you're not really that interested in. I find it to be pretty beneficial to do Q&As because it allows me to get to know you guys and you to get to know me a little bit more directly and instantaneously, rather than do it through a comment section on a video. Although That's not something that everyone wants, but I will tell you that engagement-wise, it does help boost the channel. So that's why I like doing live streams in general. Now Q&As, we'll see. That's why I kind of want to know what you think. But I do also bring people onto the channel as well. My live streams are never just Q&As, okay? My live streams may be something with another gun tuber, another YouTuber. I've had a number of them on the channel. If you guys are paying attention to my shorts content, you're seeing that I've posted some videos of some past live streams on there, and you'll see the different people that have been on my channel with the live stream. I like doing those. I haven't had a chance to really link up with anybody to kind of do something like that. If you want to do something like that, hit me up in the comments section or shoot me an email. My email is in my profile. If you go back to my homepage, you can check that out. I definitely leave my email out there if you want to get in touch with me. Some people have reached out to me that way, but it is a good way to do so. Okay? Just letting you know. Anyway. So yeah, as far as kind of just some content that we did today, I want to get you guys updated. We are, as of yesterday, we are 2 months. Well, I'm doing what's known as batch content creating, okay? And this is where it kind of comes back into why I was saying what I'm doing for my strategy to try and get my content up to par and so that I can consistently post it is I'm doing batch content creation, which essentially means creating a lot of videos all at once or at one certain time and then posting them on a schedule. So as of right now, my shorts content is basically over 2 months out. So you're going to be getting at least one short video per day, as you have been this entire year. So that's thanks to the fact that I've been able to batch content create. I don't want to do just shorts content, although shorts content has a tendency for me to get noticed a lot, but that's just the algorithm and what people are into nowadays. But I do so far have I've batch content created over 2 months out. So you guys are going to get at least a shorts content video every day. And then when I'm done having my shorts content be up all the way until December 31st of 2025, I will revert back to doing more long form content. But as I said, hence the reason why we're here now, because I would like to do some long form content here and there. And the great thing about live streams is there's no editing, which takes up the majority of the time with long form content. So in live streams, we can hold as long as we want. So that's great. The only downside to a live stream is you can't edit. So therefore, any mistakes that are made, people, if they watch the whole thing, are bound to see it. But that's okay. It's about being real, authentic, and engaging with the audience, and that's why I like live streams. So, but yeah, just go ahead and hit me up. If you got any more questions in the comments section, we're at the hour mark right now. I think what I'm willing to do is if we can keep content going, keep questions going, I'm willing to go out another 30 minutes. If I get a lot of questions, then maybe I might go another hour. But people might not want to stick on for that long, but we'll see. But yeah, just by all means, go ahead and, ask me questions, have a drink with me, socialize. That's what we're here for. Let me know where you're watching from, if you're watching from another country or if you're watching from work or whatever, I know you guys are all over the place, so that's great, and try to make sure that I got enough light in here. Audio should be a lot better than it was yesterday, so that's great. But anyway, yeah, so good stuff, everybody. Let me know what your favorite video is. I'd love to talk about it. I'll tell you, I told everybody what my favorite rifle was yesterday, or my favorite weapon, I think. And I think it was just favorite weapon. But if we wanted to go by category, I guess we could kind of start there. You know, that might be another commonly asked question or something that you guys might be interested in knowing. So I'll just kind of reiterate. As far as rifles is concerned, when it comes to Western stuff, I like the 1860 Henry. And the reason being is aesthetics. It also is relatively high capacity. And it's just a solid gun. Solid looking. A lot of things are all one piece. You know, for its time, it was revolutionary. So, you know, it's the one that kind of started it all, at least with the toggle link actions. So I think that's something to be very revered, in my opinion. And when you hold a Henry, it feels like a rifle. It's a big boy. You know, a lot of the other stuff beyond that, aside from maybe the 1866, maybe the 1886 as well, because the 86 is a big gun, and the 76 is a big gun too. There's very few of them, at least in the pistol caliber, that really feel like that. So that's just letting you know. So I would say, as far as rifle is concerned, I like the 1860. I got two of them. I don't have an original yet, and I already talked about how I'm, you know, working on acquiring that. But I do have a Henry repeating arms Henry, and I do have a Uberti Henry. And they're both good guns. People kind of ask me, well, which one do you prefer of the Henrys that you have? And I'll tell you that I don't have a bad thing to say about Uberti, period. The Uberti 1860s are just, in my opinion, just as good as the Henry repeating arms kind. The only difference that you can feel, all right, we're not talking about looks, we're not talking about aesthetics. Feeling wise, you know that the Henry is smoother. You can feel it. Out of the box, there's nothing that beats it, in my opinion. The Henry repeating arms is the smoothest action of those Henrys. However, I will say that historically and internally and externally, the Uberti is more accurate. So that's just my opinion. So anyway, with that being said, I'll move on to pistols wise. Revolvers. So if we're talking about revolvers, what is my favorite revolver? I have not, and I'll be honest here, I have not handled every single Western gun revolver there is. I have not. I have, for the majority, I have handled single action army types, variants, and I have handled a Schofield. I have handled a Smith & Wesson Model Number 3. I have held some of the later Smith & Wessons. And what I can say as far as single actions are concerned, now if we're talking about single actions, single action only, in my opinion, at this point in time, the Colt Single Action Army is my favorite. And the reason being is it's a centerfire gun. You know, it's not rimfire, even though they do have rimfire variants. It is a centerfire revolver. It is a very solid gun. It came out in other different, you know, many other different calibers as well. Definitely had the marketing, even though Smith & Wesson and all those are great guns, I'm sure. But for me personally, I like the Colt Single Action Army. So that is my favorite revolver, okay? You know, and I kind of, as far as aesthetics look, I prefer nickel-plated or stainless, depending on who it is. I do like color case hardening, though, I'll be honest. Color case hardening looks real good. It is a very close second of mine. I like the longer barrel on the Colt Single Action Army, but historically speaking, my preference has been the 5.5 inch. The 5.5 inch barrel. Now, I would love to have, and I do have, not a Colt Single Action Army, but a Colt Single Action Army replica made by Uberti that is a 7.5 inch barrel with a bullseye ejector. Now, that would be the kind that the Army originally issued. And it has the wood grips too. It's not the Gerda Percha or the plastic looking grips. Nothing else has been done to it, and they're one piece, which is what they would have been original as well. So the ones that were issued to the Army and the ones specifically that were used at the Battle of Little Bighorn, but I could care less if it was Battle of Little Bighorn ones. It's just the first ones that were issued. And, you know, they have the lot numbers, and I know Lot 5 and 6 went to the 7th Cav at the Little Bighorn or possibly saw action there, but I could care less as long as it's got the 7.5 inch barrel and a bullseye ejector. I think that's cool. And if it's a black powder frame, specifically. So I'll let you know how that goes, by the way, because I got some videos coming up on that. So as far as revolvers are concerned, let me know. Shotguns, if we're talking about shotguns, then I would say, man, practicality-wise, I like the 97, which would be the 1897 pump or slide action. I think they're great looking guns. I think they are very utilitarian. They hold more rounds. Competition wise, it's probably one of the better options you could go with. But you can also be just as fast with a double barrel shotgun. But as far as aesthetics wise and my personal preference, not competition wise, I'd say the 97, in my opinion. So that's where I am with that. So I hope that kind of covers a few things. You know, if you guys had questions on some of the guns that I have and the guns that I use, you know. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'd like to hear. So, oh, man. Mouth's getting dry. But anyway, so I guess that's what I would say on that one. Anyway, as we're kind of going through this, just go ahead and drop your questions in the comments, and we'll kind of go from there. I'll see if I have any more that are coming up, which at this time I don't, and that's okay. I know that it's kind of hard to ask questions. It's like, well, what do I ask and all that, and my answer to that is anything. We can talk about just about anything here. You know, I'll talk about guns, I'll talk about gear, I'll talk about myself, I'll talk about the world, I'll talk about whatever. Just something to have a conversation about, you know? And if I don't want to talk about it, I'll let you know I'm not going to talk about it. So, you got nothing to worry about here. This is a, if you will, safe space. Have you ever had to, wrestle with an animal before? Yes, I have. The animals I deal with are ruminants, and specifically goats and sheep, because a cow is also a ruminant too. But I work with goats and sheep, and I have had to wrestle them. And they are very, depending on who they are, goats have personalities that are different based on goat to goat. I have had some goats that were really small that were just jerks. And boy, they put up a fight. They wouldn't stop. They would hit you if they had the chance. But I don't wrestle them. I don't wrestle that type of, if they're charging me, I'm not really wrestling them unless I absolutely have to. I'm usually just getting out of the way, or I boot them. give them a nice little swift kick so that they know not to do that again. That usually doesn't work, by the way. You know, an animal feels that it needs to hit you, it's going to hit you. Sheep are a little different, and it also depends on the gender as well. I have yet to run into any female goats, and those are referred to as does, that have been aggressive towards me. I have run into plenty of bucks. These are male goats that are intact, not castrated, that have tried to hit me. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. And as far as wrestling is concerned, yeah, sometimes I gotta give them medicine. More often than not, I try to put them into a chute so that I don't have to wrestle them. But let's be honest, if I were to be completely honest, even in a chute, you kind of have to manhandle them a little bit. But when you say wrestling, I'm assuming you're talking about, do you have to take an animal to the ground? And have I had to do that? The answer is yes. Because basically the animal was too big and was going to get away from me, and I had to take the legs out from under them. So it caused me to actually pick them up by their hooves, flip them over, and basically put my legs across their body or in such a manner that they were immobilized to the best of their ability. And yes, I have had to hog tie animals before. It happens. But, you know, so yeah, I've done it. I don't like doing it, and it doesn't happen as often as you would think. But I have had to do it. So I hope that answers your question. So, but yeah. Hey, Red. That'll do, boy. Come on over here. See if we can get you a cameo. That'll do. Come here. See if I can pick him up. Oh, come here, bud. Oh, come here. Come on. Come on. No? Okay. No, you don't want to. That's all right. Red is just sitting here getting his pets on. He's a good dog. He's quiet for the most part unless he's hungry. Okay. Ooh. What do you think? I got another question here. What do you think of the Red Dead Redemption depiction of cowboys? Okay, now we're talking. First off, I love Red Dead. I do. For those of you who don't know what Red Dead is, it is a video game set in the West. And it was made in 2018, at least the most recent version, Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption, and then even the one before that they call Red Dead Revolver, but I don't think that they're necessarily related. But Red Dead Redemption, the original, came out in 2010. And I like Red Dead Redemption. I do like Red Dead Redemption 2 even more because it's more interactive. There's obviously more stuff to it and all that. Now, as far as the depiction of cowboys, I would say that Rockstar did a good job of detail. I think they got a lot of details right on the guns. There were a few nuances here and there, but if we're talking about guns-wise, I think they did an excellent job. To include, boy, let's talk about it. To include the point that when they were loading the carbine repeater, and for those of you who don't know, the carbine repeater basically is the Spencer carbine in real life, and they actually load it correctly in the game. In the original, in Red Dead Redemption, they don't. They depict it as having a side loading gate, which it doesn't. But in Red Dead Redemption 2, it's actually done from the butt of the rifle, which is correct. So that's what I mean. They actually got a lot of detail right. Especially in, obviously the names are a little different, mainly because I'm sure they had to protect trademark, and I'm sure they had they didn't want to get sued and all that stuff. Like the Litchfield repeater is the Henry rifle. The Lancaster repeater is the Winchester 1866. And then it has the Evans. It actually says Evans repeater in it, and I think they mainly used rifles that really aren't in production anymore or being produced. But that's kind of interesting, because the carbine repeater isn't being the Spencer repeater. The Spencer carbine is not being built anymore by the Spencer company. So I don't know what they have to be afraid of on that. So I don't know why they did that. My assumption is they didn't want to get sued. But my thoughts on the detail of the cowboy guns, or the type of guns that they had, is very well done. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's well done, and it was done better than the first one. As far as the depiction of cowboys in general, it's a game. So I think there's some aspects to it, like they speed things up, like roping and all that. Like when you rope something, I don't think it's as accurate. I don't think it really depicts that accurately at all, especially him carrying the rope where it is, because typically the rope is carried on his side, and I can tell you, if you have truly handled a lariat, you'll find out that it's really stiff, and if it's not coiled up correctly, it can get kind of springy, and just becomes a mess. And for the most part, a lot of people wouldn't even wear them on their side. They put them on the side of their horses. You don't do that in the game. So I think it's incorrect in that, but once again, it's a game. As far as the, I think a lot of it has to do, I think the type of hats that people wear is a little different. Even though they have many different types of hats, they probably wouldn't have worn some of the styles that they have, mainly material-wise. So I know that kind of becomes a point of contention. I think what is really awesome as far as people-wise when it comes to Red Dead Redemption that they depict very well is I think they depict the attitude of law and order very well. Even in the game, you find out that some of the sheriffs are corrupt. And I think you're going to find in history, and that is true in history as well. Not every, law and order wasn't, it was based on the individual moral attitude, and maybe even had certain types of laws that were enacted by the town or the community. But for the most part, a lot of these people made decisions based on their own beliefs or even benefit. So I think to kind of put a case in point on that, you have to understand that even back in Tombstone, and the only reason I bring up Tombstone is because I have read a lot on it, both the stuff that's probably not as correct and the stuff that is more factually correct. But correct me if I'm wrong if I'm talking about this, but Johnny Behan in Tombstone was kind of depicted as this very sophisticated upper crust kind of guy. And the movie I don't think really did a good job in depicting exactly where his corruption was in. But books that I've read, you'll find that Johnny Behan, even though he was county, he was the county sheriff, county marshal, one of those two. He actually turned a blind eye to what the cowboy gang in the movie was doing, which is accurate. Which is what they were doing was they were rustling cattle. and they were rustling cattle away from Mexicans, you know, and other ranchers. And he basically turned a blind eye to it. So he himself made some morally corrupt decisions. And I think that is very well depicted in the game. So when your question is what is their depiction of cowboys? I would say that it is accurate in some and not accurate in others. But thank you for the question. That'll do, Red. Come here, bud. So, great question. Glad we could talk about that. If you got follow-ups, let me know. If you got other questions, let me know. We're at about 15 minutes away from the hour and a half mark. We'll see what we do here. But anyway. Yeah, I haven't received a whole lot of comments about lighting or audio, so that's good. It sounds like everybody's enjoying the show, and if you're watching the show, you're able to get it clear, so that's good. Do you think there should be more Western-style video games? Do I think there should be more Western-style video games? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I'm thinking of Western-style video games, I want to say currently, or from what I remember, there's probably about 4 or 5 Western-style video games. And I mean, when I say Western-style, I'm talking about they're set in the West. We're not talking about storyline. Because even storylines can be considered Western. Shoot, even people consider Star Wars a Western, and it's set in space. But it isn't the Western era. I think there's only 4 or 5 games that I can think of that are actually Western style. So to answer your question, yeah, I think there should be. I think Rockstar does a really good job, though, man. I'll be honest. Like, if Rockstar is the only one that comes out with Western games and it comes out once every 8 years, I'm good with that. But I think that there is room for someone to come in and definitely help with the genre, and I think they should. Because Red Dead was really popular. You know, as you well know, if you follow any of the commentary on it, it was top game of the year, I believe, for 2018, 2019, something like that. And I think it just shows promise to that genre. In fact, I think Westerns are starting to make a resurgence, especially in miniseries right now, because you got movies that are coming out, like Horizon. The Horizon saga was one of them. Old Henry, American Primeval, all that stuff. And I think if it's making a resurgence, in cinema, I think it should make a resurgence in video games. So that's what I would say. What parts of the USA count as the West? West of the Mississippi. No. Well, if we're talking about the true West, you're talking about pretty much anything that was, when we're talking Western expansion, anything basically the Louisiana Purchase and beyond. So pretty much anywhere beyond the Appalachian Mountains. And for those of you who don't know, the Appalachian Mountains are on the eastern seaboard area. You know, because this gets into more U.S. history. When you're talking about the West, and when we say we settled the West, it was anywhere beyond the Appalachian Mountains, because we purchased the Louisiana Purchase happened in 1803, and that's when they had the Lewis and Clark expedition. and they finally reached the Pacific Ocean eventually. It took them a year or two, I believe, to do that. Maybe a year to get out there and a year to get back. I don't remember exactly. But I mean, the West is considered historically it's anywhere west of the Appalachian Mountains. And then that west started as Western expansion happened. That got smaller and smaller, and eventually got down to the last part, which was the Gadsden Purchase around the 18. Let me think about it. Just give me a second. I want to say it was the 1850s. I think the 1850s ish was the Gadsden Purchase. May have been the 1860s post Reconstruction. But or 1848, I can't remember exactly. But then you're talking about statehood and all that stuff, and then obviously the states entered the Union at different times. So to be a little bit more specific, if you were to talk about the West dwindled from the Appalachian Mountains starting in 1803 and about 1912 time frame is kind of when it really ended. The West was already kind of settled by then, but as far as statehoods go, you're talking probably about 1912 because that's when Arizona became a state. But I mean, we've had states in the West as early as 1850 to include California. So, because the California Gold Rush in 1849. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. So the West was large, slowly goes down with Western expansion as the years go on from 1803. So anywhere from the Appalachians to the East Coast is considered the West. But then as states start to form, that West gets smaller and smaller. And so more in the Southwest specifically is where you start to see it, where it just becomes the West there. And even today, it's referred to as the Southwest or the West. And when Western states are talked about, it's anything west of the Rocky Mountains. But back then, it was anything west of the Appalachians. You're really good at American history. Well, thank you. I tried to be a good student of it. I'm sure there's people that know more than I do. But thank you. Born 100 years too late. Hey, man, long time no see. How's your channel going? I'd like to hear. Let me know. Hey, you been tracking mountain lions lately? I know you were doing that for quite a long time. But yeah, welcome to the live stream. Ask me questions. All that good stuff. That's what this Q&A is here for. Been answering a lot of questions about video games, American history. Good. Just been in a slump here lately. Okay, well, how many videos you got up on your channel? And what are you talking about lately? I really haven't been keeping up too much with a whole lot of other YouTubers because I've been focusing on my stuff mostly. But then again, obviously, as I said, with what I've been talking about earlier in the channel, earlier in the videos, I've been talking a lot about my day job. So the slump is in video making, or is it in your mountain lion hunting escapades? Let me know. But yeah, no, I try to be good at American history. Sad to say, I guess if you quiz me on a whole lot of other histories, different nations, it depends on which nation you're talking about. I might know something about. But I'm probably not going to be as good at that because I really have studied more American history than anything else, which is kind of sad because I know America is not the only one with history. It's not the only nation with history. There's a lot of histories out there of many different countries, and it's important to know quite a bit about it. So, anyway. I understand that's what you need to do. I think I have over here 400 videos, both hunting, and I have gone more to riding to interesting destinations on my mules. Well, awesome, man. Yeah, go ahead and check out Born 100 Years Too Late channel. You know, if you want to talk about Western travel and hunting practicality, usage of stuff, and packing, you're probably going to want to watch him. He's got more experience in that than I do, and I don't do what he does. So, but he's definitely got a pretty good channel too, and he's been going at it as long as I have, if not longer. But yeah, that's great. That's good progress, man. 400 videos. That's no small feat. So glad to hear. Love Old West history. Keep it up. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I do the best I can. I'm not, you know, I try to work on my consistency, but as I like to tell everyone on this channel, I'm going nowhere. You know, this channel's going to be around for a long time. Content's going to be coming out. I hope it works for everybody. It is hard work, I know. Yeah. Yeah, it is, man. It definitely is. I'll agree to that. So, that'll do, Red. Come here, bud. I'm just going to sit here and pet the puppy. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about my border collie, Red. He's here. He's watching me making videos and stuff. Being a dog. He's a good dog. He tries. He tries. All the time. Anyway, hopefully you guys are out there having a good time. We've had some people check in and out. I understand not everyone can hang around for an hour and a half. But, you know, we're here. We're having a good time. We're trying to have some videos. He said, "You inspired me. I think I might go live today. Thanks." Well, I'm glad I inspired you. There you go. There's one inspiration. Yeah, I think it might be a good idea. Go live. I think it's good for, you know, if you're a YouTuber, you should go live once in a while. Just to check in with your audience, if nothing else. Let them know that you're still doing okay. And it's just good to have that connection. You know, because that's kind of why you do it, is to find people like you that they're interested in learning from you. And, you know, then gives people a chance to ask questions in real time, which I think is awesome. So, you know. Nope. Red. Ah, man. Yeah, I'll fix that. There we go. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm glad I inspired you, bro. So, you do that. Maybe I'll jump in on the live stream, say hello. You know, obviously not while I'm doing a live stream right now, but you burped. Seriously. Hey, no. Sit. Good dog. Yeah. Anyway. So, oh man, please do. I better go get ready. Keep it up. All right. I'll drop in and say hi. It's good to talk to you. So anyway, as far as kind of what we might do after the live stream is I might go out and make a few more short videos. Shoot, we didn't even talk about modern guns. I might bring that up right now. You know, because people on my channel kind of run the gamut. Even though I'm Western, I still get people that are into the modern stuff, and I do have modern things on my channel. So I only have a small number of modern guns, and each of them does have, for the most part, a purpose. My antique guns and all that's a little different, and so I like to keep it that way. But I will probably end up having more modern guns too as kind of the channel goes along. But if we're talking about modern rifles, well, it depends on what you consider a rifle. Anything beyond 16 inches or a certain type of cartridge. You got intermediate cartridges and all that stuff. But I definitely would say that the AK platform is a rifle I like. I did buy it because of what I had heard about the platform. I didn't know much about it, and still I started watching some people and doing my own research on it. Just to let you guys know, I do have an AR and I have an AK. I have one of each. And they're on the channel as well, so you can look at that. And red is messing up my view. Sorry, hang on a sec. Let me fix that. Hey, move. Anyway, so I would say that AKs are. I like AKs. In the military, it's the AR platform. I'm used to it. I have familiarity with it, but I wanted something that was a little different, so I ended up getting into AKs. And I like the cartridge, ironically. I've fired big cartridges from 30-06 to 308 to 762 by 39 or 762 by 54, and those are all relatively large, and I do like the 762 by 39. I have to say, honestly, I do. It's a man killer cartridge. Looks like one, acts like one. It's a bigger hunk of metal going down range than the 5.56. Doesn't mean it's less. Doesn't mean it's more effective, but I mean, you're shooting it when you do. It functions great. Haven't had a jam in it, not yet. I use and abuse that gun. I don't really clean it that much either. I probably should. But I think that's kind of my favorite. If we're talking shotguns wise, I have one. Red. Get up, man. Come on. Red's hitting my camera here. So he's causing it to get off center. I need him to just get away from it. But anyway, I would say shotgun wise, I only have one modern shotgun, and I wouldn't say it's the best one, but it does work, and it's a Maverick 88, which is a Mossberg. Basically, it's a 500 variant, a cheaper version of the Mossberg 500. But I've handled 870s. I've handled other shotguns before. But as far as pump action shotguns, the only one I got is a Maverick 88, and I like it. I don't think it's bad at all. It does its job. Pistols wise, what is my favorite? Now we're getting into hammer fired versus striker. I'd say striker fired. Shooting wise, I really don't mind my Glock. I got a Glock 19X. I like it. But as far as concealability, I certainly like my Smith & Wesson, which I have a 30 Super Carry shield that I use almost every day. And I just stick that thing in my pocket and go. And it carries 17 rounds. So, in something that can be carried in my pocket, and I think it's great. Which is awesome. And then as far as hammer fired goes, I do like 1911s. Last time I shot a 1911, it definitely hammer bite got to me. For those of you that don't know, when you shoot a 1911, it has a tendency to bite the meaty part of your hand, especially if you have bigger hands. But my 1911 does that because of the the grip safety doesn't have it's not a bobbed hammer or anything like that. And the grip safety does not cover the hammer when it comes back. So all that you got is your flesh. And that's the only thing I don't like about it. But I would say probably the best hammer-fired gun that I have that I would use is my 1903 Colt. Because it's got a shrouded hammer and it's concealable. And it's reliable. So, it's great. Anyway. Yeah, well, so we'll go probably about another 10 minutes, depending on who I get, but, we'll see. Feel free to ask me questions in the comment section. Do you have any European guns like muskets? Let me think. You mean, if you're talking muzzle loaders, no, but I do have European guns, and I have a Swiss K31 bolt action. Well, it's a straight pull, but nonetheless is bolt operated. So I have a Swiss K31, which is European, but it is not a musket, and I've never had a European musket. I do want one. I would love to have like a Charleville or a Brown Bess or something like that, but I don't have one. Thanks for the question, though. What is up, Red? How are you? Anyway. Well, it's getting a little late in the day. About 4 o'clock here now. How old is Red? He's 3 years old. He's 3 years old. So, 3-year-old border collie. But yeah. If you have any dogs, let me know. Cats, doesn't matter. Pets. Whatever works. Anyway. Well, thanks everybody who tuned in. We are just before the 2-hour mark. It's getting a little late. Interaction's getting slower. Not as many people are watching. But thank you for tuning in to everyone who has. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments section. I'll try to answer them on the replay. And hopefully I'll see you in the next live stream. Thank you.